we're living out Groundhog Day. For me, that was as a mum, and I lost myself in, we had 4 kids under 6. Managing 4 kids under 6 was a huge undertaking. And somewhere along that pathway, I lost who I was. I became wife and mum, and there was no Amy left over. There was nothing for me. And part of that was that 4 kids under 6 is a lot of time and a lot of dedication. And
yeah, that's a lot.
And that season was what it was. But in that process, I disconnected from myself.
The 3 P's of self-discovery, personal growth for you and me, presence, progress, day by day, creating a better tomorrow, starting today.
There we go. Beautiful. Welcome to this 3P conversation with Addie Beal, amazing future self guide, creator of the Me First Self Guide, and owner of an amazing community called You are the owner of Midlife Badassery Group. And
I am. I own Midlife Badassery.
You do. You absolutely do. On so many levels.
Woo! I will take it. Let's go.
Addie is one of the most energetic people I know and is diving in deep in human design world and finding out why she's so energetic. And I love connecting with her. And today we're going to start our conversation with the Think, Feel, Act. And I suspect we're going to stay closer to topic than I normally do with you, but we shall see what evolves.
Well, that would be shocking for me because I tend to squirrel. So if we're
both going to squirrel, we'll squirrel. We'll see if we stick to topic then.
It'll be fun.
Generally, we have a starting point. So normally I've worked out my opening question. I haven't today. Tell us what took you on this journey of claiming your midlife badassery self. And then we'll dive into how the Think, Feel, Act stuff works for you. Just give us a little bit of your background and what brought you here.
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout my life, I grew up an athlete, and I feel like every time I stepped on the field, I just like my inner badass came out, And I think once I got into corporate life and the family, and you're chasing the picket fence and the big, 6-figure job and all of that and climbing the ladder, I think somewhere along that way, I lost myself, like that. I was still badass. I mean, come on, Amy. But it was like that essence of me and seeking and dreaming and who am I going to be in this world? And so I ended up empty nesting kind of a little, it was almost like an empty nest because I went to the mainland. I live in Hawaii now to take care of my mom, who we're all in that stage, right? And she had stage 4 cancer, and I went back to care for her. And during this time, I decided to stay over there and continue to care for her and restarted my corporate job over there. And it was, I was just being pulled in all angles. And I think a lot of it was perimenopause, like the doctors don't know a lot about it. So anyhow, I sent off on this weight-seeking journey and ended up discovering meditation and life coaching. And it really cracked me open into stepping into my authentic, audacious self, through this whole path of self-discovery.
What I love about what you do is, like me, you combine so many different elements. You're not there's a one size fits all, there's a one tool. You've got tapping and you've got meditation, you've got visualization and we could sit here all day and list off all of the different elements that you've connected with.
Yeah.
What that does, though, is it frees people coming into your world to explore what works for them, and we can take what works and we can ignore what doesn't. And so there are options which so many coaches don't seem to bring. They come with this is my one way, this is the path that worked for me, and everybody else must be on that same path. Whereas what I see with you and myself, and I think that's why I respect it so much in you, is look, there are so many things out there. These are a couple that have worked for me. These are a couple that I've used that didn't necessarily work for me, but if they work for you, great. And I think that just allows people to find their own way, particularly in this journey of reconnecting with self, there's got to be that openness to not everybody is going to do this the same way, and there's a path for everybody. There's elements
and I
that
mean,
remain the same.
we definitely see that in the weight loss world, right? Like my journey, my story of my self-discovery came with 120-pound weight loss and leaving corporate America. So I kind of experienced both sides of that from an entrepreneur standpoint and a weight loss standpoint. And as I was sharing and coaching, it was like I realized, and I know you see this too, Amy. I'm like, oh, it's just so different for everybody. So like the Me First guide process, like that system I use it's like a 90-day plan, right? This is all like just foundational stuff people can play in, because like you do, Amy, you do a lot of play in your group too, right? And I think it, and now understanding human design more, this has cracked open like a whole nother, I'm like, oh shit, now I need a different planner for everybody's human design, right? Like I'm like, my brain's just going, because once you understand how your energy flows, it adds a whole nother thing. We were talking about the think, feel, act cycle, which spurred this because I was telling you my first YouTube video I'm trying to make is on that. And you were like, oh, let's riff on that, right?
Yeah, let's just
Yeah. And I think it's one of those fundamental skills that when we understand and we can observe our thoughts and we start to just live in more awareness, we just start to change our lives anyway, just through the awareness, Yeah.
Awareness is definitely that first stepping stone into, because so many of us fall into, I think you mentioned it before, I don't remember if it was on the recording or off, but that drone of corporateness, and we step into everything becomes automatic and we're just moving through the motions. We're living out Groundhog Day. For me, that was as a mum, and I lost myself we had 4 kids under 6. Managing 4 kids under 6 was a huge undertaking. And somewhere along that pathway, I lost who I was. I became wife and mum, and there was no Amy left over. There was nothing for me. And part of that was that 4 kids under 6 is a lot of time and a lot of dedication. And
yeah, that's a lot.
And that season was what it was. But in that process, I disconnected from myself, and it just became do the dishes, do the laundry, feed the children, and it became Groundhog Day in the same way that I see people in the corporate world. It's like get up, get dressed, send the kids to school, show up at work, do work things, come home, fall in a heap. And it just becomes this repetition. There's no creativity, there's no joy, there's no me in it. And that's what I mean, your title says it all, the me first. It's like, I'm going to start putting me. For me, in the initial stages, it was like just adding, even me last was a step forward from me never, which is where I'd been. It wasn't that because I hadn't even been putting myself last. I just didn't exist at all on my to-do list. And so adding myself in any way, shape or form was a huge step forward. And it started with that awareness of you neglecting yourself. So far, like that I didn't even realize I was neglecting myself. And then to start putting myself first took a little while to step into and launch into. And that's now definitely a driver, is bringing when I'm thinking this thought, is that me-centered or is that still other people's? Is this, am I still living out what other people want of me rather than what I want of me? And I think that's where, as you say, the awareness comes in. It's like, what are we thinking and how are we feeling? And does it align with me first, or does it align with everybody else is more important than me?
Yeah, I think something fascinating happens when you start putting yourself first, Amy. I think those, I've coached so many women over the years that we all come and start weight loss generally, because that's usually how people find me. And it turns into so much more. They're uncovering this side of them that is like they're yoga teachers and coaches, and like, what do I want to do? How do I want to show up in the world? And I think we can feel trapped a lot. I know I felt trapped by my paycheck. I didn't, it was hard to imagine at that point. I didn't set off on my journey like, oh, I'm going to go podcast and do all these things. I set off just to feel better and lose some friggin' weight, right? And it'll also often come from that place of we feel drained, we're confused, we don't know what we want anymore. We keep trying everything and it keeps failing. And what I found, when we know failure is good if your goal is big enough, but when you don't know that yet, that can be like a mind F, right? You're like, why do I keep trying this thing and not showing up for it? And I think in that process of self-discovery, we can unlock all of that, and I think I did it while I was in corporate America. I think that was important for me to be able to prove to myself that I could do it while I was doing the other things. And but then when I tried to come back to it my soul was like, hell no, you're not, man. Like, because I had been doing my entrepreneur gig for a few years, traveling the country, and I came back to Hawaii and got a corporate job. And for 2 years, I tried to mind Jedi myself to make it work because it was great money, right? And it was in town where Millie's school is. There were like a lot of things that lined up about it, but it just and it was like the universe gave me a sign after sign after sign, like this is not your path. Like, get off your path, And so anyhow, I know I see squirrel.
I think we're still right on track. What you're reminding me of is in The Greatest Showman, there's a song at the end, and one of the lines is the pitfalls of the man I became. So there's all of these goals and ambitions, and it's this path that we start walking down that was never ours to begin with. And yet we keep setting goals. So you went back into the corporate world, like, this is the path, and I'm going to continue with the pitfalls of the person that you'd become to fit in and to comply and all of those things. And the allure of money is often one of the elements that will drag us back in. One of the core, what does she call them?
Yeah, I mean, and not to interrupt you there while you're thinking of that, but I think also it was the path I was meant to go because it was, right? Because I did do that, so because I'm trying to really reframe my thoughts around it. So you probably picked up on that, but I have this one coach that I call to kick my ass, because we all need coaches that'll kick us in our butt. Absolutely. When we can't see it. And she was like, you really need to rewrite that story about your time back at corporate America, because it did have so many benefits. Like, it helped me find a path to heal. It really set me up financially to rock my business and get it set up how I wanted to. And, there were a ton of benefits at the same time, but also it was like, see, and this is where I'm talking out two sides of my head, Amy, right? Because I'm like, my soul was smushed, right? But also grateful. Like, it's hard to have those two thoughts at the same time. So I'm trying to move it back over here. But yeah.
See our capacity to hold multiple thoughts and feelings and actions, whatever it is, but to hold the multiple thoughts is part of the way forward. So to see the contrasts not as conflict, but as complementary. So your soul was crushed. I sense for you that was true in that experience. And it gave you wonderful opportunities to experience the contrast. I think it's Abraham Hicks, who is channeled through Esther, speaks of the contrast to how we learn what we don't want. And sometimes we've got to experience those contrasts to work out, this is not where I want to be. This is not who I want to be. This is not what I want to do. But it's only through the contrast. So we can only experience anything through knowing its opposite. We only know that there is light because we know darkness. We only know that there is soul crushing because we've experienced, but that also means that we know that there is soul uplifting. So that one wasn't uplifting, it was soul crushing. But now you get to go, okay, well, I don't want that. What do I want? And as we step into more of what do we want, we get to experience that through the contrasts. The contrasts become the guiding light. They become the pathway forward. And so I see what you're saying. But holding both of those thoughts at once, that to me is where the joy comes in of, I can see both sides of this. It's like picking up a coin and saying, I'm only ever going to look at the heads. We're missing half of the picture. There is tails on a coin as well.
And I think it depends on if I want to hold that emotion of that thought and how energetically charged it is anymore, right? Like when I am working to actively move my frequency into more joy, gratitude, and abundance. And yes, the 50-50, I totally get. I can't live there all the time, but I am actively smushing and squashing as many limiting beliefs as I can. And so for me, it's just being an awareness of it, just like we were right now, right? I saw myself say it and I was like, oh, I'm shifting to gratitude for the soul smushing. So I'm still holding the thought, but I'm like actively shifting myself at the same time, right? And I think that is part of the process that for me, and I think we all process it different, Amy, right? Like you've got your
absolutely.
12 little characters that are processing things in a different way, right? And I like actively get my limiting beliefs and these thoughts I no longer want to be the belief road, like the hard concrete path inside of me. And I'm like rewiring them. What's the next believable thought? How do I process this and move it through my body so I can move on to more joy, light, abundance in my life, you know? And and then that brings all the other all my other goals and all of that other stuff into fruition, you know? So yeah, I know we're saying the same thing.
And you and I are often on the same path with just different perspectives on it. What you raised
which
then
is
that
always
I find
what's so fascinating. Yeah.
What you raised then that I find is probably key for people listening is the emotional charge of the thought. So if our thoughts still have emotional charge, then we do need to navigate them a little bit differently to the thoughts that are no longer attached to emotional charge. And so if that speech, if the way you're saying it is coming with an emotional charge and there is that link, then yeah, absolutely. Reframe, re-explore, experiment, potentially like tap into that emotion and allow that emotion to be released. When we get to a place where our thoughts are no longer emotionally charged, then it becomes much easier to hold it in the duality. I think that's where we're coming with the different perspective around the thoughts is if those thoughts are still emotionally charged, then they're not necessarily. So if that story is still dragging us into feeling what we're not desiring, stopping telling the story is the first way. Like that's the way forward, is like change the story. I keep telling this story and it keeps making me miserable. Stop telling the story.
Yeah.
Like I'm hitting my head against the wall and I'm getting a headache. Well, stop.
I really struggle with that story because I do think it illustrates because what I do is I share my journey online and how I learn and what I learn, and then share it so other people can do it with me or whatever, right? So part of like what I want people to know about that story is sometimes I think I can change my thoughts around something and just be okay with that. And it's fine. Like I did the first time at corporate America. Like by the time I left there, I was really enjoying my job because I'd stepped into my zone of genius. I changed everything by just changing my thoughts and how I was showing up. And I tried to do that in this place I was at, and it wasn't taking. And I think sometimes, and I see this with clients I coach, sometimes it is the circumstance and maybe your thoughts about that circumstance, but there's a reason you're having those thoughts. And sometimes it's deeper than, so it worked for me at corporate America. And this is why it's a different journey for everybody, right? And I mind Jedi'd my stuff and I made it all about light and love while I was there, but then I couldn't replicate it. So, the system's broken. It doesn't work. Sometimes it's deeper. Sometimes it's like your soul in there knocking. Hey, you got a bigger calling here, right? Like you are meant to go do this, and the universe is going to keep throwing stuff at you. And I think you brought up human design. So of course we're going to segue there for a hot second, because I think understanding how my energy flows now and my channels and kind of like my superpowers, right? It totally makes sense to me First of all, my too muchedness with all these motor centers, right? Like I have a lot of energy. I walk in a room and it's a lot. I know it, and I love that about me. But some people don't love it about me, right? They're not ready to have all those things completed in them, Amy. That's what I think, right? I'm like, they're not ready for that completion.
Absolutely.
But
And it's such
yeah,
an unfamiliar, for anyone that doesn't have the motor centers lit up the same way that you do, it's such an unfamiliar energy, and unfamiliar. Our nervous system is wired to go danger. Our nervous system is wired to push back on that until we can learn to soothe our nervous system that unfamiliar is not going to kill us.
yeah,
Of course, is the response that you're going to get from some people. And then others of us that have done that little bit of rewiring, it's like, oh, this is unfamiliar. Oh, I wonder what I can learn from this. I wonder what I can experiment with this. I wonder how I can play with this, which is definitely my response to your energy. I wonder how I can leverage this. And so I tap into and leverage your energy for my good. But for so many people, they're not realizing that unfamiliar is not life-threatening. And so they will feel that too muchness from the centers, the channels, all of that. From memory, you have a lot of the integration channels as well, and they are quite intense for a lot of people. That integration is up-leveling and inspiring and terrifying, depending on which perspective. And this is where we come back to the contrasts. Like, it's the everything is there and available. What's the story that we're telling ourselves about this? And for most people, they're projecting it outwards. It's the, oh, Addie is too much, rather than the, I'm not sure how to navigate this within myself. And so when we shift the direction, and then going back to your corporate, sometimes we do need to look outside of ourselves. It's not that I'm not thinking enough, I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm just in the wrong place. Maybe I'm doing the wrong, and so there's this balance between our internal worlds and our external worlds that we need to come to. So not everything that's outside of us needs to be ignored as we go on this inner world journey, but not everything in our inner world journey is going to necessarily change the outer world experience either. And so creating that dynamic between what's mine that I need to take ownership of and what's out there, and where am I making choices? So am I going to remold myself to fit back into the corporate world and find the beliefs that make me stay here? Or am I going to listen to this whisper and go, you know what, maybe there's something else that I can do?
Well, and I know, like, for you probably too as a coach, and just like if you are a corporate America leader, you're a manager, or you do something where you're working with people, like, had I had this human design tool when I was coaching my people, like, it would have just been such a game changer. And I have to see everyone's human design chart now as I go into coaching them. They could not want to know about it, but it's going to help me hold space and understanding my own energy, how it can work with theirs to really help them get to the end result they want, which is all in their own head, right? Their own makeup. But that's why we go to coaching, so that we can get that outcome faster, get there sooner. And so to really be able to amplify, not just go from a think, feel, act cycle, but also the energy cycle. And we know thoughts are energy, right? Emotions are the language of the body. Thoughts are the language of mind, right? Of energy, of what we're putting into the world. So I think it just makes sense. It all works together so clearly, right? And then we were talking about this. This is what brought it up, Amy, because we were talking about human design, and my throat is open, right? Which means I don't have consistent, which makes it so much sense why I like to riff on my podcast. And like, because I just
it brings an adaptable communication style for you, which is cool.
Right. And so, but I do have the gates, think, feel, and have, which was funny because I was trying to make this podcast about it. I still have my whiteboard here that I'm like working on. Like, this YouTube video is taking me forever. YouTube's a whole nother game, you guys. But yeah, so I thought, oh my God, isn't that interesting? Because it made such an impact on me. Not just what I think you hear it in school. Like, if you have Psych 101, you hear, oh, your thoughts create your feeling, but no one teaches you how to actually change your thoughts and how to rewire your thoughts, right? Like this isn't like this should be a class in fourth grade. Emotional intelligence, how to think, feel, act, meditation, so you can be the observer of your thoughts. Like nothing teaches you faster than meditation that you are the observer, because all of a sudden you can see 6,000 thoughts. People think they can't meditate. No, that's meditation. That's you seeing the thoughts that you realize you're not the thinker of the thoughts. You're watching the thoughts and then you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of thoughts in there. Oh, can I cuss on your podcast? Oops.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, you might have to beep that. Okay.
No, cussing is welcome here. Absolutely.
Okay, well, yeah, thank God.
Fairly informal in this space. The teaching the kids is something that I could easily get passionate about, and bringing this in earlier. My kids have been exposed. So I started my coaching journey. My youngest was 4 or 5, was definitely still at home full time. And so Lexi was exposed to a lot of the coaching stuff. So Lexi went off to school and is an interesting personality, and I love Lexi dearly, but it's interesting personality. Lexi went off to school and I got called in on like day 2 of kindergarten, and the teacher said to me, I don't know what this means. I'm like, what has this child said? And Lexi had been writing or doing something. It took a while for Lexi to want to write, but could read and could do all of these amazing things. Anyway, I had reached like a use by date and I'm done. I don't want to play anymore energetically, and said to the teacher, I've reached my boundary condition and I don't wish to move through it.
God, that's classic.
So then I'm going to explain this
to
the
Lex. Yeah.
I'm going to explain to the teacher what this is. So my kids have been exposed to this from little. Like my oldest was 10, and so they've all got coaching frameworks.
I thought that was going a different direction.
There are many directions that you give me stories to tell on the screen. Lexi's just overheard what I was saying and come out. Equipping them so young is one of the best things I've ever done, and one of the things that I often struggle with the most, because the teenagers will play back coaching stuff.
Right. Yeah, they give it back to you.
That's your belief, Mum. Like, no,
well, you know, my Lexi, I love we both have Lexis.
I love we both have Lexis, yeah.
My Lexi was, she's 31, almost 32. So what, she was like 26 or so when I really started this work. And one of the first things I took her to transcendental meditation, and it changed her life because she saw it change my life. So then she wanted to do it. And this is what I find interesting also about us moms, right? Like, I think we have this idea that we need to fall on the sword and not care for ourselves. And as soon as I started to put myself first, everything with my kids and like how they view the world, like I didn't want them to think they couldn't pursue their dreams because they had to work for the man and support their family, right? And so Lexi learned to meditate, and I was teaching all of this stuff, and then she started helping me with the business gradually. She doesn't miss a quarterly planning. She has changed her life drastically, and I didn't ever like teach it to her. She just would like hear me and then like start to jump in, right? And because you know how kids are, God forbid we
the living
tell
by
them.
So
yes.
There's no point in trying to tell them, but when we live by example. Now my kids are drawn in, so one of the things that I love to play with, as you know, is the profiles and the human design worksheet that I'm working on. Just getting so close. They're my first guinea pigs. They're the people that I'm experimenting on. So they're dragged into the profiles world, but the empowerment that gives them, and they see me. It's not that I'm making them do it and I'm not doing it. They see me living fully in, I'm learning about myself and I'm learning about others. And the huge benefit of the profiles work is that we start to learn that not everyone operates the same way that we do. And when we can understand that in our relationships, whether it's our marital relationships, our parenting relationships, our work relationships, our coach-client relationships, it changes the game hugely. And so human design for me is a tool that I love. I've reached a point now, because I've been playing with human design, we must be going on 7 years or 8 years since I first really immersed in it. I don't necessarily need the person's chart because I can read the different patterns and you learn. I mean, the chart is helpful and it fast tracks it, but just understanding there are going to be some people that need to wait to respond and some that need to wait for recognition. And there's like a whole bunch more in that. There's 4, and I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head. But knowing that and tapping into just shaping the questions that I'm asking. Do you find it better when you allow yourself, like when you're initiating, or do you find it better when you're responding to something? And there we have an instant question, they can change their life. And the same, like whether you're doing it in weight loss, whether you're doing it in business, doesn't matter where you are. It's like, how are you engaging with the world around you? And is it working for you? And if it's not working for them, I've got another option instantly that I can offer. And
Yeah,
so
I
human
mean,
design
I
becomes a
think just
catalyst.
understanding your response type in human design changes the game with any goal, period. Like business, like once I understood, and I had dabbled in human design for over a few years. I've always been curious, but it was always really confusing, So I got a little deeper. I did a certification course because I wanted to learn more, right? And I know as I'm bringing this to my work with my clients, I'm going to learn even more because I will investigate the heck out of them. And they will
Like
also
the line 1, you're a line 1, aren't you? No, you're a line 2.
No,
You're a
I'm a
hermit.
2. I'm a 2-4. I'm a hermit, right? So, yeah, with the community line, but I love a good investigation. That's just fun to me. But for like my power of understanding my energy with them and them, right? But I think just understanding response type for my business, that was game changing this year. And one of my intentions in October, I really started looking for coaches and spaces to be in, was to be in places where I could design my business around my human design, because I knew last time I set out and did my business, I was I needed better foundation set. And I also knew I needed people on the ride with me that were going to keep showing up and doing the things right. And also I needed to honor my energy. So understanding I was this hermit, that was game changing because, oh, that makes sense. I go hide, I have brilliant ideas, and then I come out and I'm like, all right, you guys, look at this, let's go. I'm like, that totally makes sense. And the response thing. So to understand that I am to respond. So now, for example, in my community, I'll post, hey, what sounds fun to you guys this month? So I can play off even energy as simple as that, as someone responding to me in a post, has really, I feel like, changed the game for me.
It makes a huge difference. What occurred to me, though, as you were speaking about the responding, coming back to this think, feel, act thing, we're responding to our thoughts, we're responding to our feelings, we're responding to our actions all the time. But for a lot of us, we're not necessarily responding, we're reacting. So we'll have the thought, and rather than allow it to settle in, one of the things that I've started doing, and it came from learning about human design, is like, is this mine? So if I get a thought or a feeling, I'm checking in, is this mine? And so what most people do is they'll respond or they'll react to that thought without first checking in. Is this something that I need to do anything with? So one of my active gates is gate 11, which is the ideas gate, but not every one of them needs to be brought into fruition. And I need to remind myself of that frequently. It's like, oh, look, I've had 3,292 ideas today, and none of them are things that I need to act on. Like that thought is there, the feeling is there, if I pause and allow myself to respond instead of react, then I'm not taking action on every single thought. I'm not taking action on every single emotion. And so allowing that space to go, oh, look, here is a thought. Let me respond to it rather than react to it. And that's allowing that space for it to settle into our system. It came from somewhere. And what I know about myself is that generally it didn't come from me. It's come from the universal energy. It's come from a transit. It's come from hanging out with somebody. And then allowing myself to go, oh, look, there's a thought. Let that settle. Am I going to turn it into an emotion, or am I just going to allow the thought to, which goes back to you observing the thoughts and letting them float past? And then do I need to turn this into action? Whereas most people act reasonably instantly on those thoughts.
Well, and so with that, because I've got the open head and ajna and all of that. But our thoughts are also baked in all of our beliefs, right? So they're the buildings on the road, if you will, right? Like all of those experiences we had have thoughts packed in them.
Yes.
So if I'm triggered by something in my environment, for example, like I smell pizza and I'm like, oh, damn, that smells good. I want to go eat all the pizza, right? Like that thought is coming from within me or outside of me because of the outside trigger.
You've got the pizza. So you've got your outside trigger. You smell the pizza. And then the thought that progresses from, so the pizza exists, like assuming, mind you, I can now smell pizza. So maybe the pizza doesn't exist, but
assuming the pizza is there. So circumstance, pizza walks in the room.
But let's imagine that there is a real pizza in the room. Yeah. As opposed to the pizza that I can now smell because I'm imagining that there's a pizza in the room.
Yeah. So I smell it.
The reactive thought is I need to eat the pizza. If we allow it to settle into a responsive thought, then we check in with our authority. So rather than that open, and I have an open.
Yeah, but I mean, the thought comes. The thought comes from within us, right? And I would also say it doesn't just, because my thought about pizza might be different than your thought about pizza. Absolutely. I might hate pizza and I might be like, oh, gross. I mean, nobody hates pizza, but we
can navigate. So one of the techniques I learned years ago in the NLP world was the like to dislike. And you can shift things so that if you did once love them, you now do not love them.
Tony Robbins is big on that, right?
I was going to say, one of my favorite games. And so, see, mine was very effective years ago. Even the thought, I don't know if you just saw that shudder, but the thought of tomatoes makes me shudder. So if we've got pizza and it's got tomato on it, I'm not touching it. But if you bring me a garlic prawn pizza that's got creme fraiche sauce on it, I'm going for that. So we can shift our responses and our reactions. But that instant thought of I should eat pizza doesn't need to turn into action if we allow ourselves to respond to the thought rather than react from the thought.
And I think this is the important. Right. That's the important part as understanding the think, feel, act cycle. That's the whole friggin' purpose is that so now you see it and you can make a choice, right? Yeah. You're no longer letting life happen to you.
Yeah. So I've got this thought, with that comes a feeling, and then with that could come action. But if we catch that thought and say, is this mine? Is this something I need to follow through on? And allow it to move through our system, then we get to create new feelings. We get to create new actions. And so we smell the pizza and it's like, okay, yes, pizza smells good. Is it good for me right now? Is it moving me in the direction of my goals? Like there's a bunch of yes, no, and the sacral will give a yes, no answer authority. There's other authorities that need different navigations, but the sacral is great for that really fast yes or no. It's like, is this what I want? Is this mine? Is this moving me in the direction of my goals? All of those closed yes, no questions, and then following through with the action rather than having the thought and acting almost instantaneously. So creating that gap, which as you say is that awareness. We want to have the awareness of that. I've had the thought. is it a thought that's serving me? Is it a belief that's working for me? Is it however we're asking that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So like I find it interesting too as I get in the thinking and the emotions with human design and having the solar plexus, right? Like active. So this is the emotional authority, you guys.
Emotional authority.
And looking at those percentages. So Amy, you had posted the other day about different
I found geeky
percentages. I was so surprised that more people have solar plexus, have emotional authority, because I feel like everybody I know has sacral. I'm like, where are my emotional people? Like I'm drawing all your sacral people, which is awesome. But, having that emotional authority, when I think about that in relation to the pizza thought or emotional eating, it brings in a whole nother level, right? Like, because it can be good, like, because we have that, the emotional regulator basic, right? Like it's always just,
well, it's a consistent regulation strategy.
Consistent. Yeah.
Whereas my emotional regulation is very inconsistent.
Yeah. So, but knowing like I have to ride maybe an emotional wave a little bit and understanding that, because processing emotions, and I've always said, Amy, processing my good emotions feels so much harder to me than bad ones, right? If you will, if we're going to good or bad things like joy, celebration, party, let's party, right? Like I get so much energy. It was like before I came on this podcast, I said, well, I got to go treadmill because like I know now I got to move it through my body or I'm going to like blow Amy out of the water over here, right? Like, so understanding that can be such a game changer, I think, when we're looking to ride that wave. And now now that I'm in awareness of that, it's a whole nother level of awareness, this human design business. I'm like, oh shit. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. Absolutely.
It's like you want to like go back to being ignorant and living on the hamster wheel like the rest of the world, because you're like, oh, just let life happen to me and I'm a victim over here. I was like blind to it. And then once you're in awareness, you're like, oh my gosh, right? Like, and to own it and move through it. And now with this emotional riding, finding myself ride the wave and figuring out when the wave is done. Now you don't have this center, so that might be a little conceptually
it's a little bit foreign and conceptual for me.
Yeah.
What I noticed though, because I have worked with a couple of clients with that emotional authority, is it's really easy to make decisions in the high or the low. So in that, oh my God, this is amazing, this is new, this is exciting, I'm going to follow this path. And when the decisions are made from that emotional high, they can become quite misaligned. Now, sometimes it works out all right anyway, but sometimes it doesn't. And so allowing that emotion to settle, and sometimes bringing in, I wonder if this is where I can't remember what she called it in the book we're doing, the visioning book, the pessimistic visioning.
Right. The negative visualization. Yeah. That blew my mind. I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense.
So to me, that was very validating because I do that all the time. But I wonder if for those with emotional authority, and I'm wondering, like I see that this is completely conceptual for me, allowing that dropping into, if this doesn't work out, and what are the possible, and again, we're back into positive and negative emotions, which is not my favorite, but you get
right.
Like,
yeah.
Ride that.
We're labeling something that doesn't,
It doesn't need labeling, but it's hard to talk about it without the labels.
Yeah.
But if you allow yourself into that counter, so allow yourself, and I mean at a basic level, the sad, mad, and glad. So feel through those three emotions with regards to the situation and then make your decision.
And doing what happens if I don't do this, and this is probably some of that where simple things like pros and cons lists are so powerful, because like you can get emotion from that, like, I am like, oh my God, this gets my brain going. I want to create 500 new tools right now. I already have like
so many.
Just trying to get my pathway in my classroom. That's like my mission this week. I'm like, I'm getting that done, Amy, like if it kills me, right?
You raised pros and cons lists. I'm not sure if you've come across Cartesian coordinates. It's one of my favorite,
I don't know.
favorite question models. So it's a little bit of a brain teaser. And so it asks 4 questions, and it's based on what will happen, what won't happen, if you do and if you don't. So the 4 questions become: what will happen if I do? What will happen if I don't? What won't happen if I do? And what won't happen if I don't?
Have heard that. I didn't know what it was called, though.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably have.
Yeah, that's a great tool, right?
Yeah. To navigate
especially for like bigger decisions. Like I'm probably not running it through it.
You're probably not running it through.
Like I already know the answer about the pizza. You know what I mean? Now whether that's gonna win or not, like you know, we'll see. But So
you can run it through fairly quickly for the pizza. It's like, what will happen if I eat the pizza? What won't happen? What will happen if I don't eat the pizza? What won't happen? What will happen? Like and the answers are going to be very short and fast for that with
when I first started, because I learned from Brooke Castillo at the Life Coach School and Corinne Crabtree, like this whole, she has this thought model that is basically think, feel, act, but you put the circumstance up top and the action at what action at the bottom. And so I still do this, right? And this part in my planner every morning when I sit down and rewire my thought here, this is basically the think, feel, act cycle. Like through this part, I'm like visioning my future self. How does that feel? And then I let all the crap come up about it. And then I'm like, hey, but what do I really feel? And then I future self letter. Yeah. So I kind of work myself through that wave.
I was going to say, which is riding that wave.
And practicing the thoughts. And I used to do this a lot. So when I'm building out my classroom, and why it even came to this think, feel, act, and us talking about it, I was like, what is the one skill I can make sure that everyone understands just in this initial kickstart? And it was the think, feel, act cycle and how to work it to just bring yourself in more awareness, because already people like they make their alter ego, because this is what we do for fun in my group, right, Amy? So we make a mystical, magical, fun alter ego, like your badass hero self. And just from thinking about what qualities you want, how that person thinks, you start to shift to thinking that way, like even unintentionally.
As you say, which is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see that you can connect with those attributes, once you see that they're possible, you can't not start moving in that direction. And then and this is where your group is so great, it's the maintaining it. Because it's really easy to step into that for a moment. To maintain it, we've got to continually be bringing awareness to it. And the more we continue to bring the awareness to it, the more it sticks.
Well, and I think we see this as an objection and with our coaching clients, I'm sure you do too, Amy, that the frustration is them being consistent. Like I can start something and I can't finish it. And it's like, how do you stay through the process? So understanding your brain, understanding the habit cycle, like these scientific things, but then having community that does it with you. This is where it's like you're 35% more likely to succeed and it goes way up if you engage. It goes to like in the studies, like 95% if you engage in the community. So like if you really want that thing, you want to lose weight, you want to build the business, you get in wherever it is and you get active, and I think it's just, but everyone's got different time, different focus. We're in different seasons of life. So I'm really big on the one tiny little step every day. Like when I was building my business from corporate America, it was all I could do. Some days I was in the bathroom, like over in the court, like this, like, how do I make a website? It was like all the time I had. 5 minutes in the bathroom and I built a business, right? Like maybe not every day, 5 minutes in a bathroom, but
it's those tiny incremental steps. What society has created is this instant gratification desire, We want the
Yeah.
results and we want them now. And we're not necessarily willing to go on the journey to get to them. One of the things writing my books was a really interesting process in that it couldn't be done instantly. It took time.
Yeah.
And it could have been done in 5 minutes a day. I tend to be a bit more of a binge strategy. And so Create a Home You Love, I wrote in 11 days like that. And that was all I did. I didn't feed my kids. I didn't do anything. Like it was definitely a me first and no one else. And that's not sustainable. It was sustainable for 11 days. And then after that, I kind of came back out of and this, I'm just realizing as I'm speaking, is like me doing the hermit thing. It's like, I'm going to hermit and I'm going to do this thing and then I'll come back out and I'll reemerge. There was a journey to be taken in that, and a emotional journey, and all of those elements in it. Most people want the outcome without being willing to follow the process, which again was one of the things in the visioning book that we've just done. There's the outcome vision. Imagine yourself following through the process. It's not, do you want the book at the end? It's are you willing to sit down and write, I think it's 50,000 words. There's a lot of words in that book. And it's are you willing to do that? Jimmy Carr talks about it with comedy. He's like, don't imagine being on stage. Like everybody wants the outcome of standing on stage and speaking and being funny, and like he holds an audience so well. What he speaks to those, if you want to become a comedian, you have to be willing to write jokes for 12 hours a day.
Right. Yeah. And test them and they bomb. And Yep. What are we willing to do? Yeah, I love that. I think, who dare we step into the next thing? You triggered something I wanted to say there and now I forget. Okay.
Well, I think
what must not have been important.
So many people want the outcome without the what are we willing to do?
Oh, right. Talking about the outcome. And, but I think it's powerful to know. And this is why people get excited when they start the work on believing, because you can feel that now. Like you don't have to wait to lose the 100 pounds to feel like it now. Like nobody can tell me right now I'm not skinny. Like I'm just like, I'm already there. I already put on my badass weight loss alter ego. We're back on the path again. And in my mind, I'm there, right? But I've already done this goal before. That was easy for me to put that back on. Now it's like creating my business. Who's Brookster? Who's this person that shows up and executes every day and does her podcast when she doesn't feel like it? And I think it's a powerful reminder because so many of us out there think we have to be effing miserable on our way to the goal. And weight loss is just a great example because you got to not eat. You've got to lift a bunch of weights and run around the block. Like it just sounds torturous, right? Like when you're starting at 300-pound ball of misery I was in, right? And to let it be easy and let your mind help shift the reality for you, and you gradually start to step into it and your life changes easily, right?
Well, and that comes back to the think, feel, act. If we change the feelings around what we're thinking, it's like, this is hard. Now we have that belief, this is hard. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. The feeling that we associate to hard. So if I find something that's hard, I am delighted. Oh, look, this is a challenge. This is an adventure. This is somewhere where I get to shine. Whereas if the relationship with this is hard is, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed and drained. It's just so what we're feeling in response to that thought becomes the game changer. And sometimes there will be frustration or annoyance that comes up. I was trying to edit the podcast the other day and the AI thing kept saying, this is really simple and easy and you'll be able to do it quickly. And I'm like, I'm 2 hours into this. It is not quick. It is not simple. Enough with those words. It is possible and it is practical and I am stubborn and I will find a way and I will make this work. But the AI keeping saying to me, this is really simple. I'm like, it's not freaking. When I worked it out after 2 hours, oh my God, was it simple? But it wasn't until I got to actually knowing how to do it that it felt simple. So before the thing, it's always going to feel hard and unknown and unfamiliar. I'm trying to teach my daughter to drive, and I was sitting in the car, so it was after I'd had this fight with the AI about the podcast, and I'm like, I'm giving you the same instruction level that the AI was giving me. It's like, just do this. And I'm like, I don't understand. And so she's sitting in the car, and I'm like, just do this. And she's like, I don't understand. I'm like, so we ended up going somewhere, and I just allowed her to fuck around and find out. I'm like, we're going to be in reverse, and we're in an abandoned car park, so there was like plenty of space. Like, be in reverse, and you're just going to play with turning the wheel. And I'm now starting to think my dad had a point. My driving lessons started with doing figure of eights in reverse around trees at an abandoned airport. And if you can
Well,
do
there's a
that,
story in that. Yeah.
if you can do that, you can do just about anything in the car. Like, you can manipulate.
Yeah.
But he picked the hardest thing first, and then from there, everything became easy. Now, I didn't do that with my kids because it was torture. But as I was watching Victoria do, like, reversing the other, I'm like, maybe I should have. My point, though, is that as we're approaching anything new and unfamiliar, the feelings, we can't trust our feelings around it. We have to build the reference points. So that you've put on this alter ego and you've stepped back into weight loss. It's really easy this time because you've done it before. Once we're on the other side of having done it, but that first mountain is really hard to climb. And recognizing that, it's like, okay, well, I've got to be willing to do what it takes to get over this first hurdle. And then once I've done that, I've got the reference points, and it then becomes a snowball effect.
Well, and I think we try to jump, and I've got a tool I'm going to make for this because it just hit me this week. Because so often we'll try to jump to what we think the perfect thought is, or we try to stop negative thoughts. And like to your point earlier, I think those need to exist, and we need to say, hey, do I want this thought? Do I want to process it or whatever? But when we're first starting to understand and starting to realize we have a choice about it, is to just bring that awareness to it and understand if we want it or not, right? And then you can decide what emotion you want. And like that right there just changes everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time this morning. For those wanting to connect with you, where do they go?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Addie Beal, 55, I think it is, or on school. Come in Midlife Badassery. You can get your alter ego custom GPT and get started right away on just stepping into this easy awareness. And it plays really well with everything Amy does too. So
absolutely, absolutely. The alter egos have been added in as a component, not a big component, but they're definitely there in what I'm playing with Wizards Champions. Those links will be below for anyone wanting, if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, if you want to join in the conversations and dive deeper into the 3 Ps of self-discovery, come and join my community. And I look forward to connecting again with you soon, Addie, and also those of you watching. Thank you.
You too. I'll see you. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye. Thanks.